future in relation to Manchester United, and it's not a signing, but I tell you what, this is a signing in itself, and this is something to be celebrated in a world where we get lost in the nonsense of all the transfer news, that a player can actually still just come out and do something very, very publicly and kill the rumours effectively, because we've had lots of people contacting me this morning saying, what's the future with Martial? It looks like he's going to go. He's unhappy. He's going to say he doesn't want to be here and this, that and the other. And then Anthony Martial, just the most simple thing, just goes onto Twitter and tweets out the rumours are false, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We'd already heard his agent say a few weeks ago that he's going to stay at Manchester United. We know that last season wasn't the best, but I think it's a myth that it was awful. I think at times he played well. He just wasn't given the opportunities that people like Lingard were. But he's got to work harder for those opportunities. But when you look at Manchester United over the last 2 years, Anthony Martial scored the most goals and got the most assists in our creative positions. So he's got the talent. I think this time last summer we were saying he's our best player. A year later, some people want to sell him. He's still very young. He's still a fantastic talent. He did go backwards last season. Of course he did. But I still firmly believe he can be one of the best players in world football in the next 4 or 5 years. And we've got him at Manchester United, and it would be foolish of us to let that disappear and to turn our back on it. And Martial is committed to Manchester United. He has this aura of nonchalance, I suppose, but that's everybody's different. Personally, my interpretation of that sort of stone cold look from him is shyness. That's how I read it. I think he is a player that needs an arm around his shoulder. Mourinho admitted towards the end of the season he's not very good at that. But he's got to do it. Both the player and the manager have got to learn to work with each other, because Manchester United is exactly the right place for Anthony Martial's talents. Mourinho is the right manager for him, and it can be a marriage made in heaven. He's still very young. He had an amazing first season. I think that shocked a lot of people, and it put him up on a very high pedestal. Last season there was a drop-off, I'll admit, but there were still moments of brilliance. If he gets that consistency back, he will be the star player again. Very similar to Mkhitaryan, really. I think Mkhitaryan had a mixed season, but we saw those moments of brilliance, and we've certainly seen it from Martial. He can be settled at the club. He has had personal problems, but to come out and do that in the modern day, like I say, it just kills off all these press reports that say Martial's going to leave Manchester United. I never felt it would happen. I'd be absolutely gutted if it did. I'd feel very, very angry, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, certainly not from Martial's point of view. I'm very, very pleased that he can come out and do something like that. So yeah, where does Martial fit into his next season? Well, that's for him to find out, isn't it? If we get the Perisic deal done, I'd expect Perisic to play on the left, but it's a big season. We were saying this about Memphis last year, but Martial's done a hell of a lot more than Memphis ever did in a United shirt. It's a big season for Martial. If he had the same season as last season, next season, then maybe it would be time to part ways, but I don't see that. I see a summer where he's not been part of the French setup, a summer where he can have a rest, a summer where he can come back, get himself fully fit and focused on the US tour and hit the ground running. And a lot of players will be in that position this year with no major tournament. So it's a benefit. It's good that he's in a strong frame of mind. It's good that he's positive. It's good that he's coming out and committing to Manchester United, which, to be fair, if you do follow Martial, most match days, whether he's been playing or even on the bench or not part of the squad, he will tweet something out. So maybe it's managed by a press company, maybe it's managed by his agents, I don't know, but there are positive things in it. Viche Rocks says, I think we are not in for Aubameyang because maybe there is a deal in place for Griezmann. That's why when we are signing Morata. Your thoughts on that, Mark? Well, thanks for the contribution. Last I heard is Aubameyang wants to go to China. Mish says it looks like you'll be wrong about 2 signings by Sunday. And Brian says, Mark, you turned on Morata. Did everyone see that? Yeah, well, let me talk about Morata. David Amoyle says 45% on Fabinho, 45% chance on Fabinho, which I would take. It's still 50-50. Builder saying that Aubameyang's going to China. Look, I'll tell you what, look, I've got to talk about Morata, and I've got to tell you the thing I told you last night. The fact is, he is back in Madrid from his honeymoon while his wife is still on honeymoon. He's not going to do that for long. She's not going to be putting up with that. She's going to be sending him little suggestive texts. He's going to be thinking, look, I want to sign for United, but I want to get back on my honeymoon and enjoy it. That Morata deal will be done very, very soon. Now, whether it gets announced, as I said last night, the medical probably won't be done till after his honeymoon, but whether we will announce it like we did with Lindelof, where we say he's a United player pending a medical, that I would expect to happen in the next couple of days. But the video I did this morning, for those who are not aware of the United Stand, we do a transfer review show every morning at 7 AM. It is a transfer review show. When I go live at 11 o'clock at night, which I don't normally do, that is based on credible information that we feel that Morata will be joining Manchester United very soon, and there has been progress on that deal. I still believe there's been progress on that deal. I still believe it's going to happen. I said 24 hours last night. That was my hunch. I've not been told that by anybody. That's my hunch. A lot of people are saying 48 hours. We'll wait and see. But in relation to what I said on the transfer review show this morning, I've read a lot of the comments, because I do read the comments, and I think people are misunderstanding what a transfer review show is. A transfer review show is where you review transfer news and give the fan opinion to it. It's sort of we're sort of a bridge between the press and the fans, which is exactly what's required in modern football, because the press, like with Martial, will throw stuff out just to sell papers, and then the fans are left to sort of pick up the pieces. And what we try to do on a transfer review show is hit that middle ground where we talk about Martial to Arsenal and we go, like I did a few days ago, that's never going to happen. And then we feel better about it as fans. So on the transfer review show this morning, I had a choice. Obviously, last night at 11, I'd said that Morata deal has moved on. It's going to happen. Overnight, Perez comes out and says that they've not heard anything from Manchester United. So I either ignore that and get called a liar for not mentioning it, or I mention it. I mentioned it in the video that Perez says Manchester United are not in for Morata. But also in the video I say I still believe that we are, and I still stand by what I did last night. So there is no contradiction. All it was is a transfer review show, and that's what the 7 AM show is. And for these people who come out and say, well, we're not signing Serge Aurier from PSG, probably not. It was in the press. I reported it. We spoke about it. And I said I didn't think it was going to happen. So I think people are misunderstanding what the transfer review show is, which is fine. You might be new. But I think a lot of people know what it is. It's a transfer review show where we talk about the transfer news and provide that sort of middle ground for you. And on Perez, he's lied before. He said the same thing about Benitez. He said the same thing about other people. So lied, be flexible with the truth, whatever. Real is on the upper hand with this deal, says some people. Don't want Matic at all. And look, you know, if you enjoy what we do, I hope you do enjoy it, because we enjoy the transfer stuff. But if we get something, and occasionally we do, I will let you know. With Lindelof, a week and a half before, Robin from Sweden, he sent us that 99% done. We fed it out. I didn't say it was done because I've been burnt before on Lindelof. Not had anything. And I really must reiterate that. I think that this is the problem. Whether it's about people reporting Martial's going to leave, or whether it's 48 hours ago. I mean, are you getting on the back of the press who was saying 48 hours ago that Matic will have his medical? Because he hasn't had his medical, and I don't think he's going to have his medical today. But we're over the 48 hours anyway. There's so much nonsense out there. So much nonsense out there. And there always has been around Manchester United. There is so much nonsense out there, and I think that is because nobody knows anything. I mean, last summer we did get more than we've had this summer. There's nothing, not getting anything from anywhere really. There's tidbits, but I think the Morata thing's going to happen. I think you don't come back from your honeymoon and leave your wife on honeymoon and plan to be waiting around for 2 weeks. He will want to get it done yesterday. So that's why I thought 24 hours from yesterday. But we'll see. It could be this afternoon, could be tomorrow, could be next week. I don't know. But there needs to be this middle ground. I stand by it. People have said stop doing the transfer daily because you're just talking about nonsense. Well, there may be nonsense, but surely it's important that us as fans sort of grind through that nonsense, cut through it and have our opinion on it. Otherwise, we are basically victims to this constant onslaught of nonsense out there in the press. And I don't think they know anything. I don't think they know anything. There's so much, you know, everybody that you think, well, they might be onto something, is contradiction. I mean, at the weekend we had Fabinho was going to sign. Some people were saying he's not. People are still saying there's a 50-50 chance and we're negotiating with Monaco. Bakayoko was meant to be at Chelsea this week and we're having Matic. That's not materialised. Perisic is meant to be happening because Inter need to sort financial fair play out. There's lots of things coming to a head. I still believe that by Sunday night we will have signed 2 players. Now that may be optimistic, but we're at Wednesday, so I still believe that we will. But above anything else, I want to say that I treat this Martial news like a signing anyway. In a sea of nonsense, we have a pure moment of truth from Anthony Martial coming out on Twitter and saying that the rumours are false basically committing his future to Manchester United. And you know what? Some people were getting a bit worried about it. So Martial's a massive player for us. If you've got Anthony Martial in your squad, you've got a decent squad, and he is part of our squad, and he will be next season. And I'm looking forward to him on the US tour with Mkhitaryan, with Pereira, 3 players that, for differing reasons, didn't have a great season for United last year. Well, obviously Pereira wasn't here. Big opportunities on that US tour, and I want players like that to hit the ground running. I'm very excited about it. Picking up on what Gary Neville said this morning, though, I'm very, very surprised that Rooney's future has not been sorted. As we were talking about last night with Rodney on the show, why has Rooney's future not been sorted? It's a shadow over our season, because if he goes on the US tour, he's an oxygen thief, really, to be blunt. And Rooney's been a legend for United, but he's just taken up somebody's spot on a tour where we could be using a youth player. You could take Angel Gomez. Rooney is surely finished at Manchester United. His performances reflect that. I can't see why we would keep him. Mourinho made it abundantly clear he's not part of his first team plans. So they need to sort that out sooner rather than later. Jack Dapson says, where do you see Rashford being used in the future? Morata will be the future number 9. I love the pair of them. You could play 2 up front, as you've just said there. Thanks for that contribution, Jack. You could play 2 up front. You could use Rashford on the flanks. I think we need to be cleverer with our squad next season. We didn't play a squad game last year until around February time. He was picking the same 11 more or less for every tournament. We've got to be clever around it. We're in the Champions League, and you know, League Cup will still be around, so we've got to be cleverer with the squad. But Rashford can play a number of positions, and even if Rashford just goes back to being on the bench a bit and coming on for the last 10-20 minutes, that's not terrible for Rashford. He still has a growth in him. He's still got things to learn, as great a player as he is, and I love Rashford. But the same thing for Martial. Will Martial start the season if we get Perisic in? He may be on the bench as well. Same situation. Martial and Rashford I really like, but they've got to work harder next season. But I wouldn't want them anywhere else. I really, really like them both. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm happy to do a show like that today. It's not about somebody signing, it's about a player that we've got who I like, and that is a positive. To talk about Anthony Martial, brilliant tweet, brilliant that he's going to be here. More important than talking about some Matic medical, to be honest, because this is real. This is a player that we've got. Thanks for watching. Get commenting below. Please do drop a like on the video if you enjoy our content, and we will be back. We will be back tonight at 8:30, dependent on whether there is going to be another. There might be another video this afternoon. Who knows? We'd all love there to be. But if not, we're back at 8:30 tonight. But very, very positive about Martial. And, you know, if you are getting fed up of all the transfer news, cling on to that positive from Martial. He's given us something positive today. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you all soon.